Hai everybody. Boleh dengar tak? Okey ya? Okey ya?
Boleh.
Okey, terima kasih. Okey, today's title is a bit pelik sikit. Dan you kata, mengapa Whiting pilih ini punya topik lah. So, I akan share sikit history mengapa I choose lah topik ni ya. Boleh nampak okay. Boleh nampak semua ya? Okay. So, I tambah satu perkataan je lah. Not just your grandfather or your father's data warehouse. Now, because IT ni dia bergerak sangat cepat ya. So if I say that normally term yang this is a very macam American term lah. Dia kata you sudah 2 generasi behind ataupun 3 generasi behind. Unfortunately dalam Malaysia kita masih di peringkat lah pakai kita punya father's data warehouse lah. Not your data warehouse, ya. So, I akan cerita sikit. So, this is the idea is that warehouse ni dia banyak generation. So, I akan tunjuk when I was young, apa warehouse yang I pakai lah. And then the challenges. And sekarang, what is the art of the possible that you sekarang boleh adopt, ya. So, I will talk about, actually I tak kata your father's warehouse and your grandfather's warehouse tak berguna, ya. It's actually very useful and still traditionally still pakai oleh ramai orang, ya. Okay, without further ado, I will just do a little bit of introduction. Let me show you the agenda. So I'm going to just introduce Awan Tech sikit, history saya sikit. For people who have never attended my webinar, kalau you are a returnee here, thank you very much. Some of you already know my history, so you boleh tidur sekejap lah, yeah. And then I'm going to talk about why data warehouses came about, yeah. And then I'll talk about BigQuery, which is to me now has become your father's data warehouse, yeah. And then I will show you your generation punya data warehouse, how you can combine Gen AI into a data warehouse itself to make your life much easier, yeah. I akan tunjukkan. And then after that Q&A. Kalau you ada apa-apa Q&A, as you kata, you boleh type in and I think it's better to add in the Q&A kan. Because then we will have a record of it. Kalau you type in the chat, mungkin kita akan hilang selepas meeting ini. So without further ado, let me talk a little bit about me and Awan Tech ya. Saya dulu ya. Okay, 5 minit. So sekarang you boleh tengok, my career started some time ago when mainframe was very popular ya. Siapa pernah jumpa mainframe? Mainframe dulu kalau you nak host a mainframe, first of all, you punya lift mesti sangat besar. Number 2, the room must be sangat besar. So nowadays, you tengoklah mesin kita kecil-kecil. Even the phone now is even more powerful than the mainframe that I started using when I was studying. Yeah. So life has changed a lot, but nasib baik, I follow the trend of where IT is going. Dulu mainframe sangat popular because it's very secure. Tak ada orang hack pun mainframe, ya, tak boleh hack. Then the second one is that then I decided that I nak balik Malaysia, and then I joined ExxonMobil here as a end user support, and that's where I learned how to work in a customer environment. Now after I worked there, so the others were all macam vendor, tapi this company ExxonMobil was the company that I kerja as an end user. So I faham problem end user face. Vendor boleh cakap promise you the sky and the moon, tapi when it comes to practical maintaining things, itu yang problem saya, right? Because I was an end user. Tapi then the vendor kata, you kalau you buat end user saja, they all takut saya, no, because I'm very strict with our vendors. Okay lah, you join us lah. Then you sell back the product to the customer, then you tahu lah. But that's just a joke. So, and then after that, my life went on. I joined different vendors to learn different system because I wanted to understand like what is the in thing, yeah? So sekarang, and then I went to Google just before Awan Tech, and sekarang kat Awan Tech, I do two or three things. Satu ialah I buat pre-sales. Number 2 also I buat training. So I'm actually a certified trainer. So kalau you all nak learn more about Google and you want to get certification, please come to Awan Tech. Kita akan organize the training for you. Then we can help you along with your certification journey. So itu saja, but it's actually a very long time, yeah. Some of you not born yet when I started working. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about Awan Tech. So Awan Tech kita ada 2 main business here. One is on solutions, one is on talent. Yeah. So similarly, kita believe that we need to grow people in order to support the latest and greatest technology. Betul? Kalau kita tak ada training, kita don't keep up to date, you will become a dinosaur. Yeah. So whatever you know. So just like when I was younger, when I masuk the industry, there were people who were like 40, 50 years old. I thought they orang tua, yeah, but they were very eager to learn because they don't want to become obsolete. Yeah. So that's why we also believe that growing the talent is actually very important. And young people, I always think that dia belajar lebih cepat lah dari orang tua macam saya lah. Yeah. But you can see that IT, yeah, for some of you who want to consider moving out of IT, I would think that IT, you boleh kerja sampai you tak boleh jalan pun boleh kerja IT. Yeah? As long as your brain is working, you punya experience over the years, it's going to be very helpful in your job, and people will look at you as a consultant. So I hope that some of you who have worked with me feel that way lah about me. This bukan orang tua lah, ini orang tua sudah tak tahu teknologi semua. But you can see that everybody is able to learn all the time and catch up with all the technology. You boleh ajar orang yang muda because they don't have the work experience that you have. They don't have the experience of solving problems like you do. Okay? So inilah short introduction about Awantech dan saya sendiri. So I hope that I'll see you on LinkedIn ke, kalau you nak follow me ke boleh juga. And also you can follow Awantech on our YouTube channel. Yeah, after this, I think some of this training kita akan post kan. I'm just looking at Shira. We are going to post some of this training. Kalau you miss out any part, you had to walk away, ataupun you rasa that this is a very useful webinar, you boleh ajak dia lah. Just read back. But it won't be the same as what we are doing today because you are here. You can ask me questions. You can say, oh, this one tak bagus. So I hope that see whether I break the record today lah. Okay, on the number of attendees. So let's move on to the data warehouse story. Yeah. Maybe I want to just show a hand, kalau you boleh. Siapa yang actually in this area? That means they actually have to deal with data. Just raise a hand ataupun send an emoticon. I nak tahu saja. Siapa yang buat? Okay. Let me see. Oh, okay. Oh, I tak nampak emoticon lah. Oh, they just vote. Maybe I tak nampak. Okay. Okay, thank you very much. So, if all of you are in data, you know the challenges. Maybe I don't have to repeat, tapi let's just talk a little bit about it and why people had data warehouse. Now, I think some of this terminology I'm going to use here lah. Data is always something that is created by the business, betul? Ataupun by the organization. Everybody creates a lot of data. And where does the data come from? Ialah from system that we call system of record. Now, this is like a bit, BI people talk about this. So this is the data that is actually generated by the application that you use for your day-to-day business. So these are system of records, and there's a lot of information that's hidden in a system record. If let's say you think about it today or last time, right, dulu, all this system of record is all structured data. Yeah? Oh, only record, macam you boleh store in relational database. But as time goes by, you realize that the system record has evolved because there's a lot of unstructured or semi-structured data that contains your business data ataupun data that you perlu to buat your kerja. Yeah? And then that is where the challenge starts, is that then now you have to think about database yang tak sama, they boleh handle semi-structured data. That's why you have the NoSQL database, you have all types of things. But these are still system of record. And of course, one of our biggest challenge dalam system record ialah kita kena dapat insights from the system record. Now, dulu, people always use this one. They create what we call system of engagement, yeah, which is to build a layer of data that you extract from all this system of record, masukkan dalam another system for you to buat analytics. Betul? So all of you were doing this and still doing this. So still, but I know that a lot of challenges will be ialah a lot of your user ataupun you yourself demand that you nak tengok real-time data. So some of you will connect to the system record. I know all of you do that. Tak ada data warehouse. Tak pernah buat data mart. Tak pernah buat all this. And then you straight away go into the system record yang your core system. Buat analytic. Then apa terjadi? your user tak boleh masuk pun. Yeah, and you get like macam a lot of people complain, why are you but you need that data, you need that real-time data, yeah. And I'll talk about why and how people try to overcome that situation. They created all these systems of engagement by marrying data from elsewhere, yeah, together with your system of record, and create this system of engagement where now you can create analytics on top of the system of engagement. Yeah. Now the next part is that the next trend is now you need system of intelligence. Apa tu, yeah? Now, many times we think that system of intelligence means applying AI ML to it. Applying, okay? Tapi then you have to hire a whole bunch of data scientists, yeah? Nak buat ni, nak buat itu, so that you can get insights into your data. Macam you nak create profiling ke, you nak what some insights like maybe you want to what sentiment analysis ke. So you need to hire all these people. Now, true, kita ada system of intelligence. So this is still, I would say, bukan your father's warehouse lah, but it's macam you punya warehouse, but not your children's warehouse already. Yeah. Okay. So this one is system of intelligence is the direction we're going to. Now, if I were doing this webinar 1 year ago, the way I talk about system intelligence will be very different from the way I talk about system of intelligence today. Because at that time, we thought that we can run AI ML model dalam system intelligence, kita boleh dapat the insights. Tetapi now the trend is, everybody talks about it, generative AI. Yeah. So we will actually go towards that direction. Now, just a bit of history lesson that I nak tunjuk. Traditional data warehouse. How many of you? Okay, actually option 1 is something that semua orang masih pakai, yeah. Now, option 2 is something that was introduced during your grandfather, not grandfather lah, your father or grandfather punya era. I call it third generation. That means -2 generation, yeah, behind. So they needed this, yeah, from system and record. You kena extract the data, combine lah, buat ETL lah, masukkan dalam some data warehouse, kena buat the cube lah. And all this actually creates delay in creating insights, yeah? Because by the time you dapat analytic is already a few days old. Now, for some industry, tak boleh pakai. Macam fraud detection. Imagine you pakai your credit card, you swipe it, somebody else stole your credit card number, dia pergi somewhere else, and your bank tak boleh detect that this is a fraud until 1 week later. How do you feel? Tak boleh, right? So definitely this kind of situation is you tak boleh tunggu option 1. Yeah. So what some people did is that they went to option 2. They buy specialized hardware to run the analytic. So dia boleh cepat, you boleh load, they kind of like specialized for this purpose. So therefore it will be faster, but not real time juga, yeah, because there is always a gap between your system record dengan your system of engagement. Yeah, so that is traditional, and I think people are looking to change it. So I hope that you understand the terminology of OLTP then OLAP. So OLTP is for capturing system of record. OLAP is the term we use for analytic. And design of database tak sama, ya. I think a lot of people also tak faham. Data or records normally is row based, macam ni, ya. Record dia insert row based. But analytic tak boleh baca row based kalau dia only interested in certain field. That's why for data warehouses, normally it is actually created column based. So a lot of these appliances, when they actually deploy for data warehouse, they store the data in columnar. Bukan macam ni. Yeah. So because they need that speed to access the piece of data, they tak boleh scan the whole record. And then when so that's the difference. Kalau you masih pakai traditional database as your data warehouse, which I think a lot of you buat, don't complain, don't come to writing and awan tak kata, mengapa I punya data warehouse sangat slow it's because you are using a traditional database which is row based to create your data warehouse. And you're still doing it, that is your father's punya data warehouse lah, ya, bukan grandfather. So this is the grandfather punya data warehouse. So I hope you enjoyed the joke lah, yeah. Okay, now actually what will happen is that when people implemented those, and today you're still facing the same issue, yeah, your data is growing faster than your infrastructure. So you can imagine, right? like every time satu hari ya, how much data you generate within your organization, and you go to IT and kata I tak cukup space to accommodate my data. Now what does IT do? IT will need to archive the data, need to purchase hardware, blah blah blah, and that's why some people go into cloud, because the cloud dia boleh purchase on demand. Yeah, tetapi of course budget must be there, so that is a different challenge. But I'm just saying that kalau you really nak beli storage semua tu on premise, normally you take at least 3 weeks turnaround time for the vendor to even ship it in and then connect to your system and so on and so forth. Now that is provided hardware dia ada. Sekarang sometimes you have shortage, you tak boleh juga, yeah. But it's always increasing, and this is where when you are first starting out in creating a data warehouse, actually this is your biggest challenge. I remember I terima banyak RFP that says to me, writing, berapa size? I say it depends on how much data you want to put in. Now, if the system is very easy to use, people will start putting in a lot of data. Yeah. But if the system is not easy to use, nobody will put any data. So I have I cannot name lah, nanti you all tahu siapa tu. So I have met customer that the system that they created, this data warehouse that they created was so difficult to use, there's no growth in usage. And they also puzzled, mengapa tak ada orang nak pakai I punya data warehouse? Because the data warehouse, the design semua tu, it's not that it's bad. It's just too technical for normal people to use. Because what we want is, we want to let even the business user, people that bukan background IT, tetapi they understand the data that they want to also use the system. So bear that in mind. Sistem macam ni, data warehouse, apa tu, must be easy for non-IT people to pakai. Jangan pilih technology that only IT people know how to deploy. Now, the second problem that you have is that your data is still isolated. Yeah, system ni generate data ini, system ini generated system. So what do we do in government? Kita create padu. Semua sistem dalam agency semua tak boleh talk to each other because all the data is different, format different, system different. So now we have to create this giant data warehouse. Semua orang masukkan data. But they have a problem because kalau I nak massage the data, very technical. Perlu banyak duit. What do they ask us? Ya, citizen, ada orang padu kat sini dah. Okay, semua citizen tolong key in your own data. Macam tu, ya. But anyway, that is just one side of the story. Just remember that it's not easy to build a data warehouse here because of the siloed data. And sometimes the insights that you need come from different systems and you have no access to those systems. Yeah, the data owner kata, I tak mau bagi you. Nanti bocor, data leak how? Macam tu, yeah. So there's a lot of situation. Now the other one is as data is moving towards what we call real time. People cannot live with even data that is 1 minute old, 10 seconds old, yeah. It must be real time. Now there are many situations where you want this to be real time. The example that I bagi tadi ialah macam credit card fraud, right? Imagine that the credit card fraud was batch. Your ATM transaction semua batch. Duit sudah tolak tetapi tak masuk the other account. What will happen? Wah, you all pening kepala. Duit saya pergi mana, ya? So if you think about those analogy, right? Then you know that a lot of data that we do today. Now think about you pergi shopping, ya? Shopping ke on Lazada ke on let's say you nak book ticket ke, all those data, right? How a company like AirAsia will analyze data is that they need these things in real time because they want to be able to change the price of the ticket based on demand. And the demand is real time, ya. Kalau I nak tunggu sampai you all already book your ticket keluar, I cannot get as much profit as I need, ya. So data is moving towards real time in nature, meaning that you need insights from real time. They're no longer batch. Now, doesn't mean batch is bad. I want to mention is that batch is not bad because there's certain things that must be batch. You tak boleh kata I nak real time because there will be reversal lah semua tu. Sampai end of the day, maybe the figure that you saw is tak sama dengan figure that you actually supposed to capture, yeah? So some data, like finance data, may need to be batched. Now, of course, it comes to the fourth problem is that activating in data insight is hard. Now, a lot of people say, wah, kalau I collect semua data, I tak takut. Data yang saya ada, when am I going to use it? So, think of yourself, right? When you in your own house, banyak benda you simpan, right? Oh, kotak inilah, bekas inilah, whatever, just in case I need to use it in the future. So you akan simpan semua, your store, your warehouse will become, so that is a physical warehouse, yeah? Your warehouse will become bigger and bigger, but you don't know when you're going to use the data. Now, when you're going to use the barang-barang, right, that you actually stored. Now, it's the same thing with data. A lot of us are very, in the Singaporean term, right, very kiasu. We want to collect all the data, simpan, but we actually don't know what we're going to do with the data. And after a few years, nobody knows what the data is all about because the other data owner. So after that, I say, data ni datang dari mana? I tak tahu pun. Yeah. Now, of course, then it comes to now the traditional when you are going for your generation punya data warehouse and your children's data warehouse, there is a huge gap because a lot of AI is playing a lot of roles in terms of building the next generation punya data warehouse, yeah? And there's a huge gap in the skills because remember, traditionally we use a lot of data scientists. Semua orang pergi ke sekolah belajar jadi data scientist because the job is well paid. Now with Gen AI, sometimes some of these data scientists no longer required. Think about it. But I would say that the human, sometimes sekarang, I will still think that the human is more flexible than the AI. Because the AI can tell you the wrong story. So I think you know about that, Charita. Later on, when I do the demo, let's see whether my AI is going to be going into what we call hallucination. They belajar the wrong thing, yeah? Okay. So, so far, nobody has any question? Tak ada. Okay. So what are the things is that this is quite an old number, but this is just a number, yeah? A lot of people cannot get value or real value from data. Dia ada banyak data, but they don't know what to do with it. They tak dapat the value. All they do is dashboard. Are you all guilty? What? All this because you not dashboard. Tapi dashboard tu static. There's no intelligence to telling you what the dashboard means. What is required at that time to interpret the dashboard ialah the orang, right? You are the one who can tell the story of what you're trying to tell using the dashboard data. Yeah, the story. Kalau you just say, oh, the growth is like this, then they'll ask you, apakah reason for this growth or this drop? Tak tahu. Yeah, all right, and so on and so forth. Now, the other one that I want to mention, so everybody knows about data that's big, multi-format, but nowadays data requires more than just a SQL type of database here. And also you want to be able to have this data available to everyone in your organization. Bukan just a group of people. Ini orang dia tahu what to do with the data, so therefore they only have access to data. Lain-lain orang nak buat apa-apa pun tak boleh. Now, all of us understand, especially in our job, kita understand the importance of data, and only we understand what this data mean to us. Yeah. So if you don't, we would say democratize the data, people won't get value out of it. If they kena tunggu orang buat dashboard, tunggu 3 minggu, 4 minggu, it's too late, yeah, because you no longer want the data. So this is why I said that some of the important things to be able to get value out of data is the data must reach everyone. Yeah, you cannot limit. What you can do is that you need to manage how you share the data, tetapi do not limit people from accessing the data that you need for them to do their work. Yeah, that's very important to keep in mind. Yeah, okay. Now, I think you know about this one, big data challenge tomorrow. So now I'm going to talk about your father's data warehouse, yeah? So this one has been happening even during your, not really so much your grandfather's time, your father's time, yeah? So I'm just talking about -1 generation or even our current challenges. Variety, volume, velocity, and veracity. Then you say, apa ni? So veracity is actually the quality of the data that you have, yeah? Okay, so I'm just going to kind of like just summarize. Data that you get today is very different from the data that your father or your grandfather, okay, even your father is already ada lah. So your grandfather dulu tak have to deal with IoT data lah, unstructured data in PDF that you need to extract lah. They don't have those issues because tak ada PDF pun. Yeah, everything is structured. Everything is in spreadsheet. Spreadsheet can be. Do you know that a spreadsheet is actually the first generation? I won't say first generation, maybe second generation data warehouse. Your Excel, your Google Sheet is actually a database juga. It's not a problem. It's just that that particular format is not shareable and not macam people can manipulate it so easily because they need to buat formula semua tu until you tak tahu how that formula came about or that value came about, where did you get it, because people already applied formula lah semua tu to become something else. Yeah. So now when it's your father's generation and your current generation, variety is a problem. Yeah. Data come in different format and you need to extract. And most of the time, we always tell you that the most valuable data is stored in unstructured data or semi-structured data. Now, the next one is volume. Semua orang tahu. Everybody sudah takut. Kalau data masuk terlalu cepat, will my infrastructure be able to handle it? Now, this is one of the reasons why people move data warehouses from buying their own data warehouse on-premise and pergi ke cloud. Yeah, because the cloud promised them that dia boleh add storage lah, add server lah, semua tu on demand. Yeah, so that is why people say, mungkin I would tell you that even for data warehouse, one of the things that even when you are starting out ya sekarang, it's actually good to experiment on cloud. Because cloud tu, you boleh start small, you boleh have big. So it's up to you because you tak tahu what is going to be the size of your data warehouse. I have customers, it's like they go into I think like petabyte of data exchange already. But kalau if they do that on premise, right, dia punya LAN lah, their WAN lah, semua jam terus dengan data warehouse data. Yeah, when they go to cloud, it's a different story. So this is the problem that people have. They cannot plan for how much volume of data that is going to be needed for their data warehouse. Now the next one is velocity. Now data come at different speed. Bukan all come fast. Now, when we say velocity, we think that, yes, we say that the data must be processed the minute it arrives. But think about data that is a bit late. Data that you need to what decision can come fast, can come slow. Yeah, and you don't know whether they are slowed down because of whatever reason. Then you need to make sure that you don't miss out data that is late. Yeah, late incoming, and you don't miss any data that come in very fast. So the velocity become a problem for you juga to capture all the data that you require. Now, for people who are still in the batch mode, which I don't think it's not a problem. I always say, don't think that if you're doing batch is salah. Some data must be batch. Dia tak boleh buat real time, and there's no meaning to buat real time juga. So therefore, sometimes you also have to marry with data that comes in batch. So how do you handle those as well, to marry those data? Now, so another one, now this is the one in velocity is also, kalau ada bad message, and then you need to apply some transformation to the data itself. Now, veracity is actually talking about inconsistent data, quality of data. Now, when people set up data warehouse, right, I always ask them a very important question. How good is the quality of your data? Now, when I say quality of the data, it doesn't mean people key in wrongly. It could be the data was never captured. You either capture the data, therefore you cannot use it. Or the data is captured in a very cryptic way because orang malas. Now, I actually met one customer, dia kata, sometimes this customer, right, because they're not cepat and they don't do validation, they capture things like how big, like your address. Dia tak akan key in your whole address. They just key in. Of course, nowadays there are the card reader lah, boleh baca dari your IC, right, my card. So, but those days they kena key in. These people do shortcut. So address that complete. Many things that complete, and the system just accept it because they just not cepat. They just not want to capture the data. And then it comes to then quality. The data, you look at it, alamak, data ni not complete. These are not matching. Postcode salah, semua tu. A lot of cleansing needs to be done. So these are some of the things that kita kena fikir juga, because sometimes we do not want it to be we don't want to stop the input from coming fast, tetapi kita kena have a way of handling inconsistent and uncertainty because data is missing, ataupun the data, the source, the others, semua tu, So this is one of the challenges of big data that we have to think about when we are building a trusted data warehouse. So if you are just limited to, I want to do this. So actually I find that the cleansing and the quality part is the worst, I would say, to me, is most challenging task, because the person who has to do the quality check, the cleansing, identify missing data, is normally the people who understand the data, and they could be not the data owner, but the data custodian. They faham the data, they know where to fix it, but it's going to take them a long time. Of course, we try to automate it and suggest it as much as possible. Even during my time dulu on your father's data warehouse, I'm just using this for generation purpose here. So those days, right, you would think that they want us to automate. Do you have AI? I remember that time you said, can you predict the value of this data? If I give you half-baked data, do you have intelligence in your system that actually can help me correct this? So these are the things that we are looking forward to when we are implementing our data warehouse, our generation data warehouse. We want those features to be available to us as much as possible, and we don't have to rely on humans to fix it, unless the data is so bad that even the computer doesn't, even the AI doesn't have enough data to correct any of this information. Yeah? Okay. So let's move on. So now, this comes to the question that dulu, people always talk about data warehouse. Now, data warehouse in their mind is terabyte scale. Yeah? Then this data is known, they are structured, they use SQL to do, so they store all in the data warehouse so that people boleh buat analytics. Now, then there comes with a challenge. Remember, I said that some of the data, right, you don't know when you're going to need it. Now, kalau you masukkan dalam data warehouse, yes, you masukkan, but it's very costly. So implementing the data warehouse part of the data warehouse, the solution here, is very expensive to do this part. And people start thinking about what they call the data lake. And I always ask this question to say that the data lake is quickly going to become a data swamp. It's a swamp with full of data, but nothing matters, or the data is not even useful. But we keep dumping the data in, but we use the term data lake here, and it's petabyte scale. And we hope that it can answer questions that we don't already know. Yeah, and it somehow is unstructured data that we dump in. You need to explore the data. You need to combine the data warehouse and the data lake, and you have to move it yourself. So you have seen technology, ya. Dia akan kata the first layer that you buat is data lake. So semua data akan masuk data lake, and they're going to filter the data lake. Oh, ini data belum. This is raw. This one first level I sudah buat. This is level 2 sudah clean something. Level 3 dia jadi like gold standard. Now you are ready for data warehouse. Macam tu. So they have a lot of this, and this is the technology that they introduced. Father's generation, grandfather's generation tak ada data lake. So father's generation, they started introducing data lake to help you capture data that's unstructured, then you don't know when you need it, and you hope that the data scientist can help you make sense of the data. Yeah, data warehouse normally is used by business analysts. Data lake is normally orang yang di-challenge to get insights from data lake is really the data scientist and so on and so forth, yeah, or the data engineer. Now, let's talk about BigQuery. Now, everybody, BigQuery ni dah lama. Yes, actually, I want to tell you maybe I just want to tell you the history. Let me think now, where the history? I think it's somewhere at the back here. Sorry about that. So now, the BigQuery or the data warehouse on the cloud that comes from Google. So this is the sales page here, just to let you kind of understand. Now, we talked a lot about the beginning, the collection of the data, betul? And then we need to process the data, we need to simpan the data, then we need to analyze the data, and now the AI part we activate. Now, this is the father generation here. This is father's generation. Now, you say, actually, I also belum sampai this part. No. So, are you saying that I'm actually old-fashioned in terms of adopting data warehouse? It's not that. It's just that this is still useful. Now, don't think that kalau you implement your father's data warehouse, it's not useful anymore, because you need to start from your father's data warehouse before you can become your data warehouse. Now, when I show you your data warehouse, is actually enriching the end part here, the activation part. Not so much enriching the step dari. Let me just use my pointer. I can use merah. Okay, so if you look at this one, this collection still happen, right? Grandfather time, father's time, your time, masih need to do collection. But the way you want the collection or the ingestion, that's another term that they call it. Ingestion is light. So every generation, the way you ingest will change. Dulu, everything batch. File upload semua, everybody happy. Now, father's generation, kena buat CDC. Change the data capture. The minute change, I nak data itu. Yeah? Now, pub and sub is a terminology for ingesting streaming data. Wah, cepat dia masuk, you kena handle it, yeah? So collection of data will increase in complexity as we move along to different generation of data warehouse, yeah? But this is very important. Kalau you tak collect, will you have anything in your data warehouse? Tak ada, right? Okay. Now, the second step is process. Process juga is something that already exists in your grandfather, your father, and your generation of data warehouse. You still need to do that processing, but how you do the processing is going to differ, yeah? Now, it could be just coding. I not what. It could be now AI infused, yeah? AI infused help me to, based on this data, I look at the historical, I can understand what I'm supposed to fill out in the next field. So if you actually go into some of our Gen AI punya workshop, that is one of the things that you find out that when you train the system how to fill up the gap, dia akan tahu how to predict the next value. Yeah, so that is going to be the different way of processing, which will be in you punya data warehouse, but doesn't exist in your father's data warehouse or your grandfather's data warehouse. Yeah, the processing is going to be very, very different. I forgot to turn on my phone. Yeah, okay. Now, the next thing is that you cannot simpan the data. How you simpan the data depends on how you want to retrieve the data. Yeah? It could be in many forms, and it is depending on your needs. So I'm not going to talk a little bit about the storage. It could be on-prem, could be on cloud, could be anywhere. Yeah. Now, the one that's important now is the query and the analyze, which is this part. Yeah. Now, this analysis is going to come from the place where you are going to have an engine where they will analyze the data that you have stored and come up with different things. Now, one of the things that, of course, this is just a summary. So I would treat the traditional BQ as your father's data warehouse, yeah? So it has a BI engine, of course, the analytics engine. You write SQL statement to generate the insights, and then you can use natural language to talk to it, and that has actually evolved. So I will try to do a demo on how Gemini has been included to help you create SQL statement inside the BigQuery itself, which is pretty new, and you can try out, yeah? And then, of course, where the data is, and you want the data to auto-store between data warehouse and data lake. You want that automation to happen. Tak ada orang yang akan suruh data ini move here, move there. So that is actually the kind of data warehouse that you want to do. Dia akan move the data or data tiering. Now, storage tiering. So some of you are very familiar. That concept already happened in, I would say, your grandfather's state. Even your grandfather's time, mungkin ada juga, ya. Just a minute, okay. Mungkin ada juga. And then that is when it happened, but that time is dia macam almost manual. Yeah, you have to move. Nowadays things are automated. If things are not accessed, then they automatically move. Yeah, so those are macam already built in, and that is actually available today in your grandfather punya database. Wah, semua lambat ni. Just hold on, I'm trying to admit people. My assistant is missing. Yeah, okay. Then after that, the activation part. Now, this is where you get the insights, and you want to use the data for creating, learning, training. Yeah, that's why we call it the AI platform. And then it could be that you're still using BI. Now, I'm not saying that BI tools are not useful, but the way you use BI tool is very, very different now in your warehouse compared to your father's data warehouse. Yeah, so it's going to be different, and the way you interact nowadays with BI, I think some of you are very have already played around with generative AI. It actually creates the chart for you. You just tell it, I want to create a bar chart, I want a pie chart, or whatever, and it will create the data from whatever you want. Yeah, you can do this today. Actually, you can do this today even in Google Sheet. Of course, our friend Mimi pun kata dia pun boleh buat, yeah. And so on and so forth. So many people have already given you those capability to that means enhance your productivity. Yeah. So now I'm not sure. Maybe by a few more years, SQL pun kita tak tahu how to write already, because everything is written by Gen AI. Which you're gonna see later on if my demo works properly lah. Yeah. Okay. So I want to talk a little bit about BigQuery if for some of you who are not used to it. So the way that BigQuery was designed here is, I was wondering why my history didn't come. I think it's at the back. So the BigQuery has been around for a long time. Yeah, it's not new. So this is your father's data warehouse. Yeah, BigQuery. Now in that place, right? They actually believe that they want to put many engines inside this data warehouse, which is serverless. Sini. The keyword that I want to say is serverless. Then you say, kalau tak ada server boleh run ke? Now the concept is not that it doesn't have any server, but the server itself is decoupled. So macam the CPU. Okay, the CPU is disconnected from the storage, is disconnected from many things. Now, some people ask me, how is the storage being done in BigQuery here? Because BigQuery actually is using a file system that is created by Google. I believe it's called Colossus. So they actually have at the back, right? Very different. The way they do the technology, there's a mixture of very, very fast disk. There's some not so fast disk, and there's very slow disk. So dia ada bermacam-macam, and just like cloud storage in Google, dia akan pakai all kinds of storage. And if you actually ask me where is the data running now, nobody can tell you because it's built into the storage infrastructure. So serverless means that you don't have to worry what is the size of the server to run your data warehouse. You just bring the data size. Yeah, because you're charged on the query, the storage, tetapi you don't have to worry. So today, kalau you ada only 100 megabytes of data that you want to do in your data warehouse, no problem. Kalau let's say 1 week later, suddenly you have a need to load petabytes of data, no problem. You just bring the data. Of course, the loading will take a long time. The running will take some time, but you don't have to worry about, and that's why it's called serverless. Kalau you tak pakai, you take out all the data, you delete all the data, nobody's going to charge you anything. Yeah, serverless. So you pay as you use. So that is number 3 lah. Yeah, and all the data is encrypted by default at rest. Yeah, so that you don't have to worry about people chewing your data, and you can always bring your own kunci here if you want. Yeah, and then of course there is the built-in machine learning. So this part is not Gen AI yet. This is the this is your father's data warehouse where you can actually create machine learning models directly inside BQ using SQL. Now, if you're interested in that, like how the thing works, right? We also run some classes where we teach you this. So do let us know if you're interested to know how to do the father's data warehouse because you're not ready for your data warehouse. Boleh juga, yeah? You can still do both. It doesn't mean that this one override the other one because you still need data scientists to do some of this work because Gen AI is still children. Yeah, dia masih budak-budak. They will still need to learn. It will take some time for them to learn, but the way they learn is a lot faster than what you and I can ever learn. Yeah, it's actually very, very amazing. Yeah. Okay. So, but we want to be able to have control juga. Kalau kita really, really want our own model, kita nak create kita punya theory, boleh juga, yeah. So your father's data warehouse is still very valid, yeah. So it's not that it is obsolete. It's just that it's a different generation of data warehouse. Now, this is some of the comparison about the age of AI, how it actually impacted your data warehouse and how BQ actually handles it, yeah. Use case. So now in the new era of BQ, we actually already have Gemini for BigQuery, and it actually builds in your question here. So you can ask questions about the AI, and you can ask it to do the next step. You tak payah kata, oh, I need to build this model, I need to train this model, because some of these models are already trained. Yeah, you pakai saja. Yeah. Now, traditional warehouse, traditional data lake, they will probably be still in the father's generation. Now, I'm not saying that other people's data warehouse tak ada feature ni. I'm just comparing for the father and grandfather punya data warehouse lah, yeah. So the next one is the data type. You can handle structured, and sometimes for certain data warehouses, they can still not do unstructured data, yeah, or streaming. Some of them, they boleh pakai SQL. Some of them, you need to have special language to talk to it. The other specialized language. For BigQuery, is SQL for your father's data warehouse generation. And now you can use natural language. You will see that in the demo lah later on. And then for data governance, you can have it shared. Yeah, so you can control how you share the data. It's unified. You can have data owners, data stewards, and you know exactly who is accessing your data and how much information you want to share with them. Many times, right, these data warehouses, they can't. Macam they kena buat view lah, buat another a table lah, so that people only access what they need to access. Now, of course, I'm not comparing with other cloud databases. They also have other fancy features. So this is just in general, kalau especially if you're implementing this on-prem. Yeah, so on-premise, and you have restriction why you have it on-premise, because you takut data ni kena curi, orang data leak. Yeah, but remember, data leakage is always done by human. Yeah. Kalau they can make money, just like selling subsidized fuel. Who actually, no matter what we do, right? Kalau orang tu tamak, orang tu nak duit, you think they won't do it? They will risk their lives to do something illegal because it doesn't matter to them. Yeah, they make money. So for people who actually do this, maybe they have other motivation why they want to take the data out and sell the data. Yeah, we never know. We cannot judge that of course it's wrong, right? Because then it is exposing our own data to other people, selling our data. But the motivation for the person may have situation where they cannot help it, and temptation is always there. Yeah, temptation of money or whatever, or blackmail. I don't know. I'm just random. Yeah, but just think about it that people sometimes do it because they have no choice. Maybe they gonna blackmail or they really want the money. Yeah. Okay. Then they sell your data. This happened last time, right? During grandfather's time, right? All the telcos used to sell our data, and then you get all to get all these phone calls from all these random people, and you don't know why they're calling you because it's telemarketers and so on and so forth. Yeah. Okay. So I mentioned before that it is totally serverless, and these are some of the things. So you don't worry. Yes, that's why we can always say that the SLA of BigQuery is very, very high, because, for example, they auto start the things. They really don't need to warm up. Macam a traditional data warehouse, you don't have performance issue because the BigQuery infrastructure itself will actually handle those things. It is tightly integrated with all the security measures within the cloud environment. So therefore, it has all this built in as well. These are just summary. Now, the lake house. So they don't use the term here, data warehouse la, data lake. So somebody coined this term. Actually, it's not even Google punya. So they call this a lake house. The lake house is a combination of a data warehouse and a data lake. Yeah, they call it a lake house. Tapi Google calls it a big lake. This is BigQuery big lake. Not big lake as in L-E-G, yeah? L-A-K-E. So what they do is that you now manage BigQuery. You don't even know that the data lake is built in. So the data lake is actually based on Google Cloud Storage layer. Then you have the BigQuery layer. So it will automatically move the data for you to the lake if you don't use it, or retrieve the data from the lake when you actually need it in your query. Yeah? So it will actually auto move it and so on and so forth. Yeah. Now, maybe I hope some of you are not capturing the picture, but it's okay. You can capture. And of course, you can handle different types of data. Now, what is interesting that I want to share is, now this is still, I would say, semi-father and your generation, yeah? Cross-cloud analytics. Now, many of us are in a situation where some of our data are actually stored in other people's cloud. I mean, when I say other people's cloud, meaning that not Google, yeah? Now, and then you can't move everything to the same place because there's certain circumstances, because the project chose to run this on A cloud or some other cloud, then you got no choice. But in order for you to build a data warehouse, then you are in this dilemma where you have to move everything. Do I have to move everything into a single cloud before I can do it? Now, you know that all cloud providers will charge you for data leaving the cloud. So can you imagine that if you have to send a lot of data from A cloud over to Google G cloud, how much money you have to pay? Then you already pingsan, say, wow, macam ni. Then I might as well don't do any data lake lah. So what happens is that in Google, they introduced the concept of BigQuery Omni. Now, what is BigQuery Omni? Right. So BigQuery Omni is that BigQuery itself boleh install some component inside other people's cloud and process the data there when the instruction is sent there. Now, so your query will be a combination of data that need to come back from the different cloud. Yeah. So instead of you loading all the data to a single cloud to what your data warehouse, it will actually send the command over to whatever cloud that you have, the M, the A, yeah, and then it will process that and only return you the data from that other cloud to you, not everything. So mungkin your query is running, let's say you ada 1 terabyte kat A cloud. So, but the query itself only needs 200 meg of the data. It will only return to you the 200 meg of the data you need for, let's say, your virtualization. Yeah. Okay. So, visualization. Why am I saying virtualization? I'm thinking about infrastructure too much. Yeah. So that is where it is very powerful for you to think about when you don't have to worry that the data is not sitting in the same public cloud as your warehouse. Yeah. So that helps you with that. And I think this is a feature that a lot of people rather like lah. Yeah. And that but I think it's very useful for most people who have data that is actually already available in other cloud, but you'll need to implement a data warehouse. Yeah. Okay. So now I'm going to do some demo of BigQuery for some people who have never gone into BigQuery before. So let me just share this screen. Okay. Oh, I'm actually running late. Okay. All right. So this is BQ. You see, So BQ comes with the BigQuery Studio. I'm just going to do the basic. Yeah. Now, do you see this like a magic wand kat sini? Okay, let me just sini. Boleh ah? Nampak ah? This is Gemini. Yeah. And they say, well, I want to activate Gemini. What do you do? Do I want to auto-generate SQL? Do I want to explain the query? So when we say preview, yeah, it means that you can use it. So it's pre-GA. If you want to try it out, Google will not charge you anything. It's free to use. Yeah. So you can actually try it out. Now, later on, I'm going to be demonstrating Data Canvas, which is our Gemini thingy. But I want to just show you, for example, yeah, this is where the data set is. Now, data set in Google, in BigQuery is actually database. Yeah. So when you create a data set, it is meaning that you create a database. Now, Google also have what we call the BigQuery public data set, which is this one. Yeah. So BigQuery data set ni ialah all the data sets that are available in public that you can use in your query. Yeah. So let's say, for example, kalau I nak add, maybe I'll just show you this one. So underneath, you're going to have these are public data sets that people have created that they share. Let me look at one that says Chicago taxi trips here. So they actually capture because people wanted to do some and this is a table, yeah. So a table is, can you see the way BigQuery structures the table? Dia macam a relational database. Yeah. So these are the fields. You boleh tengok details and you can even look at the preview. Now, preview gives you a snapshot of the data that is stored in this particular table. Yeah. So you boleh nampak the data and now you can even query the data. Yeah. So let's say, for example, there's also the data profiling and quality, but I'm going to show you the query. Yeah. So this is the this is the father's thing. So can you see now that, for example, so the select here, now you can see this Gemini, right? So this one, we can actually generate a prompt to say what query you nak, for example. So you can actually try it out and it will actually generate the SQL statement for you, which I'm going to demonstrate later on. But because I want to show you your father's data warehouse. Now, in this case, right, I can just say I want to select everything or select certain fields. Of course, you can do. And then it will tell you that this query will require this amount. Now, Google charges you based on the query usage. When you see this is 77, so you can just do a run. And they limit a preview, yeah, run. So after that, it will show you the results of the run, and you can actually do explore, and you can even go to Looker Studio to generate the charts here. So this is the traditional method, or you can export it to Google Sheet, and then you know, and then you can do other things with it. So it is all integrated. You boleh buat macam tu. You say, why thing? Oh, because someone joined late. No, we don't have. Oh, okay. Okay, you answer. Yeah. Okay. So over here, then you say, but why then how am I going to load the data into the system? So let me just do a simple one where I'm going to just show you how to create a table within BQ. Yeah. You bring the data. So the first thing you do is that I'm going to pick a project. Now, all you have to always have a project, and I already have a data set. So over here, I can either create a new data set in this project ataupun I nak create tables, yeah. So over here, I have a data set kat sini. So the data set, remember that this data set is like a database. So I can always right click on this and create a table. So when I create a table, I boleh kata, is it empty table or do I want to upload data? Do I want to upload data from cloud storage here? So let's say I want to upload the data from a sheet, and then I can select a file. So it will actually look at, let's say, whether I have any files on my local disk, then I can upload it here, and then so on. And then what is the format of the file? So I will say it is a CSV ke, a JSON, JSON format ke, package ke, or so on and so forth. Let's say I now upload a CSV here. And I can even say that, what is the data set, table name, schema. They really auto detect the schema, the column name, and you tell it, or you can define here. Do you want the partition, and so on and so forth. Let's say I just simply say I want an empty table here. Empty table. But then after that, it has no meaning. The table name, I just got the test BQ. Schema. Yeah. I boleh tambah field. Yeah. I can define the field to say name, string, is it nullable? Is there a maximum length? Let's say I want the maximum of 253. Yeah. And so on. Yeah, and then I add another field. Now, this is when you're actually doing from scratch. If you're actually uploading it from a CSV, I can create the schema for you, and I'm going to show you later. So let's say for example, I just say date, and this is like a, I would say timestamp or date format, yeah, nullable, yeah, and then I'm going to create a table. So now I have a table here, and there's no data, of course, inside here. So I have two fields. When I do a data preview, I type the data here, and then I have already existing data set that I've loaded kat sini. I can preview. Yeah, and I can then run things like, so this is a data set that I already created earlier. This is a table. So you boleh tengok schema dia, they actually was able to detect 3 fields. And now actually I can run a query on this particular table if I wish to. Yeah. So for example, I will say, okay, I not run a query on this table. Yeah. So I can choose the fields. Maybe I not choose everything, which is not meaningful. Yeah. Maybe I want to do a count. Yeah. How many rows are there? Now this is the old-fashioned way. Yeah. It's not asking Gemini to generate this. Okay, then I can run it. So it tells you that I have 214,000 rows here. Now let's say, for example, I want to use Gemini. Oops, where's my Gemini? Okay. All right, now I put a prompt. Number of records. Hopefully lah, or that it doesn't go into hallucination. Okay, so it actually generated the query for me. Yeah, I tak payah tahu what is the query juga, because I just tell it I want to know the number of records in the table wiki. So this is already there, and this is, I would say, an evolution of your father's data warehouse lah. Yeah. Okay, so I hope that this is just a preview of the traditional way we actually use BQ. Banyak other function, but I want to move on to show you the latest and greatest function, which is kind of quite interesting because it can even find you the table. You don't even know what is the table that you not query. Yeah? So it's very, very interesting. So I'm going to go back to my slide. I want to discard, right? So I hope that this is a little bit of an eye opener. Yeah, okay. Now let's move on. So I'm going to talk about Gen AI in data warehouse, and the term we use is actually BQ Canvas. Now I just discovered that, in fact, I didn't even know the name was called BQ Canvas. They just told it it's Gemini in BigQuery, but I'm going to show you how it actually looks like, yeah. And I'll just go a bit of theory dulu, yeah, and now I'll go straight into the demo, yeah, for this one. So this particular case, let's see, let me go to my slide. Okay, let me go back to my presentation. Yeah. So in this case, right, I just want to talk about, in general, where Gen AI comes in. Now, Gen AI is actually a subset, yeah, very small. So we started with a broad description of artificial intelligence, yeah. Then I said, okay, make computers think like humans. Can it replace humans? The second one is that we use machine learning to make predictions, cluster, whatever. Now, finally, now we want to generate content using AI. So it is a small subset of AI, yeah? But it's amazing how far generative AI has gone. If you compare, let's say, maybe a few months ago, I think the whole thing just exploded. Everybody's talking about generative AI, but nobody knows what to do with it, yeah? But I want to tell you useful things that you can actually do with it in terms of the data warehouse, yeah? Okay, so this was the history that I wanted to share. So imagine, right, BigQuery was introduced in 2010. Now it's 2024, right? So it's almost 14, I would say 14 years ago. So you can, so it's not really qualifying to be your father's, but in terms of IT, right, it's already father's generation, yeah? I think it's even like almost going to it's not grandfather lah, it's father's generation. So other things just came in, and Gemini, in terms of Vertex AI, was even introduced in 2021. So it's quite a long time ago. So this one, right, is already moving into Vertex AI is actually the term we use for the AI platform that's within Google technology. Yeah, and Gemini is specifically for Gen AI, yeah, generative AI, and so on and so forth. But it's based on, and it uses the Vertex AI platform to do many of these things. So these things still exist. Do you still need voice, text to speech, speech to text translation, understanding pictures? Do you still need translation? Of course, even though they are considered like old, but they are very useful, and Gemini will actually, or the Gen AI will actually use some of this technology as well. But those have been built, but those are also pre-trained model, but they get improved over time. Yeah. But think about it, Gemini is very young. It's only this year. So if Gemini makes a mistake, please forgive Gemini, because it's very young, it's still learning. Yeah. Okay, so this is how it works. So underneath in Google, right, they have changed everything to be AI optimized. So within running even the Google data center, they infuse a lot of AI into the infrastructure, yeah? And then you have all these Gemini models, different generation that you can play with. There is a studio for you to generate Gen AI. One of the more interesting one that I like is the searching. So they actually have this agent builder component within generative, which I hope to run later on this year, a webinar on generative AI. How can you do an intelligent search engine or a chatbot by just giving it data? It will try to understand the question that you are going to ask them based on PDFs that you upload or feed it, yeah? And Vertex AI is actually a platform. And then Gemini, there's actually two flavors. One Gemini is for Google Workspace, and one Gemini is for Google Cloud. What you are seeing today is the Gemini for Google Cloud. I think you have seen some demos on Gemini for Google Workspace as well. Yeah? Okay, now with that, oops, how come I jump so fast? Oh, where is my... Okay, so I moved the slide a bit. So what I'm going to demo to you for your generation data warehouse is the data canvas. How do you use Gemini to find the data where the data is? You don't know what's the name of the data set. You don't know where it is. You don't know what's the name of the table. You just want it. Then you generate the SQL, which I showed you just now. And then from the SQL, you can actually generate the chart. Now I'm keeping my fingers crossed that it works, because yesterday it worked halfway, but it gave me the wrong answer. I had to correct it. So hopefully today it works. So I'm going to show you the whole process. Instead of just generating the SQL, now you can even find the data that you want in your data warehouse. You don't even have to remember where it is. Okay. All right. Let me just switch back to the demo. Okay. Now, I'm going to go back to this. Let me tutup all this. Let me just close this. Close this so I don't distract you. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is to create a data canvas. So I click on it, and now I have a data canvas. And they're going to ask me, right? Find, query, visualize. So what I'm going to say is that, actually, I want to find a table. So I'm going to say, okay, find a table, right? Find a table on New York taxis. My fingers crossed, dia jalan. Okay. So it actually suggests to you, there is this table. So when you see this structure, say, oh, there's a table called BigQuery, public data set called New York Times. Now, of course, it can find it only if it knows where it is. Now, it doesn't go out randomly in the internet to look for things. What I've done is I've actually added the public data set to be so-called catalog, for them to search. I said, actually, this is the one I want. Then they have another one which is similar, Chicago taxi trip. Okay, which one? And then I may have copied some of the data. They say, I think these are the data that may have some taxi information because I borrowed from it. So therefore, what do you want to do? And now I say, actually, I'm interested to explore the New York taxi, right? That's what I wanted. I just say add to canvas. So now it's actually added to the canvas. It's like a working sheet, and you can add other tables, add other tables. So in this case, now that I have, and you can actually click on here, the preview. And then of course you can do a few things. One of it is that, do you want to query or you want to join it in a table? So they ask you. I said, no, I want to query it. I want to query it. And now they're going to ask me, okay, do you want to do a new prompt or you want to use this prompt? Like select everything, and so on. I just said that I want to find the furthest, find the trips paid with cash. Okay, so it says that the prompt was paid with cash. So you can see that it actually generated. You see, you don't even need to know what's the column name. Like what field to match. They got the payment type is cash. Okay, so okay, I'm happy with this. Let me run it. It's gonna look through the whole table. Ta-da! No data. Oops. Okay. Why is there no payment type with cash? See, this is where suddenly I have a problem. Okay, select. All right. So nobody paid with cash. Okay. So anyway, let me just say that. Let me find another prompt. Let's say, for example, find the top 10 furthest trips. Let's see whether it works. Okay. Sorry about that. No data come up. Nobody paid with cash. I think it's some hallucination, I guess. Okay. So, sorry, I haven't run it. No wonder. Okay. So this one says distance, run. I didn't run it. No wonder. Okay. Ta-da. Ta-da. Can you see? So they said that there is some trip distance, this further, and so on and so forth. Let me try the cash again. Okay. Find the, I think I did something wrong. Okay. Trips paid with cache. It's generated, but I didn't run it. No wonder no data. I think so. Let me try. Okay. So select trips paid with cash, and then I run it. Oh, really no data. Okay. So then let me go back to the other one, which is the furthest trips. The top, we are running a bit out of time. Top 10 furthest trips. Sorry. Query. Oh, this is still run. Sorry. And I run it if I'm happy, because sometimes you want to adjust the columns that you want to pick up. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So they have like trip distance only limit to 10, and then descending. So these are the top. And the next thing I can do is that I can visualize it. So what do you want to do? I want to visualize a bar chart. It may not make sense. You may have to adjust it. But you can even type here, create bar chart from what data, what data, what data, yeah? Let's see whether it generates a reasonable bar chart for me. Okay, it doesn't matter because it's only one, because it means that some of the parameters that I give, I selected everything, it doesn't make sense, yeah? And so on and so forth. But this is just a short demo that I wanted to show the possibility of using Gemini within BigQuery from finding the table that you want, remember? It can actually detect the table, the data that you wanted, and then after that, generate the query for you, the reasonable query. You don't even have to remember how to write the query, know the column name, and so on. And then after that, you could actually ask it to generate the chart. So I hope that this has been like a useful session. Let me just change back to my slide. Okay, and then all right, I want to share some of the stories that so some of these customers actually tried it. First of all, they tried the built-in ML that's in BigQuery. L'Oreal tried to use Gen AI in BigQuery. Some of them actually use the BigQuery Studio, and then they actually, and so on and so forth. So some of these, because this canvas is actually quite new, so some of them may not actually have done it, but they have actually tried to use at least the Gen AI like L'Oreal, yeah? So they have actually done it to make it easier to explore the data, because you may have thousands of tables that you don't know where all the data is, and you can actually use Gemini to help you find the data that you require, yeah? So now I'm going to leave the last few minutes for any Q&A, if you have any. All right. Either you all don't understand what I said, or I actually did a great job that you all understand what I said. Either one. Really, the other question, girl?